Hi everyone, today on Bella Renovare, we are going to make over these little nightstands. As you can see, they were previously painted and there's a transfer on there, but my daughter, she has kind of outgrown them and she wants something different. And so I'm going to show you guys how to paint over an already painted finish, and I'm also going to show you how to paint over the transfer. So I've started right here, so stay tuned and we will get started. Okay, so I want to show you how I redid this nightstand. So stay tuned and we'll go over the entire process.
How did we end up here in the corner, looking like enemies? We used to be the team people talk about, what a chemistry. I can see it in your eyes. You don't wanna talk anymore. I wanna get so numb while we enemies. No, you don't mind the way I stutter my words. You know exactly what it means and how it hurts. Oh, I can't believe you're here. Can't get any worse. No. I just wanna get out of here. I find it so hard to breathe. 'Cause when you get too close, I lose my way and I freeze. I wish you knew what power you have over me, but now it's so hard to breathe. Just get me out of here. I've been dreaming all night, bringing me some inspiration. Never meant to love no one, but baby, I saw you for a second and I'm happy that you came my way. Don't wanna waste no time without you ever brightening up my days. Never meant to fall so hard. of you deserts me. You're all I think about sometimes. But baby, I saw you for a second and I'm happy that you came my way.
What I want to show you next is how to create these translucent stripes. And so all I'm going to do is tape off, and I'm going to use Dixie Belle's Clear Coat and Gloss, and you'll be able to create these stripes that are just slightly darker than the paint, and it just adds a nice, soft, feminine touch to these pieces. Okay, so the first thing that I've done is I flipped this on its side. I prefer to flip things on their side so I can work that way instead of trying to work vertical. And so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to tape this off. So I like to use painter's tape, and I'm going to tape the first part right here off, because this is where anything that is taped off is where it's going to be just the regular paint. And then if it's not taped off, that's where we're going to put our clear coat gloss, and that is going to give us the different look. So I'm going to start with going right up against this for now. And another thing I like to do, when you have 90-degree angles, you want to make sure that you get this tape nice and snug up against there, because if you don't, then you will have bleed through. So I take a Dixie Belle mud spatula, you could take a card, something like that, and I push it right up against there, and then I flip it up, and that way I have that paint right up against that, or I have that tape right up against that 90-degree angle. So I'm going to do the same thing with this. Now, I don't measure with a ruler, I actually use my tape to measure. So I'm going to pull 2 pieces of tape off. And what I do here is, this is a smaller area. If it was bigger, I'd use a few more guiding tapes, but these are my guiding tapes. And I put one down below at the very bottom right here. And then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to put it at the top. And I'm going to put it right up against that tape that I just put down. And what this does is this helps guide the next piece of tape, so that way it's nice and straight and our lines are even. The next thing we're going to do is pull another piece of tape. Okay, so I moved it a little bit so you can see it better. So here's my other piece of tape right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push it down where this guiding tape is, and I'm going to burnish it. And I'm going to take my mud spatula, push it up against there, and then flip that right there. So if you can see right there at that 90 degrees, we're not going to have a problem. Now, I do not burnish the rest of the tape down. What I do is I find this other one right here. So I find the other piece of tape right here, and I'm going to burnish that down, and then I'm going to push it up against there, flip it down. Now I burnish the rest of the tape. You can push it down and then burnish it. If you put the tape right here and you burnished it, and then you tried to push it down without putting it against this other guiding tape, then your stripe is not going to be even. So you want to make sure you push down here on your guiding tapes. If it's a longer one, you want to make sure you push down on all your guiding tapes and burnish them. Then you burnish the rest of your tape. It's really important for you to burnish your tape. That way you don't have any paint seep underneath. So then you're going to continue the same process. You're going to put this tape right up against that next piece of tape. Oops. I mean, you want to put it right next to it, okay? You put that right next to it, peel this other piece of tape off. Put this one right here against it, and repeat the process. So okay, so now that I have put all the tape down, the next step is to take my clear coat gloss right here, and I just have my flat small. You can use whatever you want, and I'm gonna just put a little tiny bit. I wanna take it all pretty much off. So I'm gonna dip it in, take most of it off, okay? Dip it in, take most of it off, so you don't have anything dripping. And I'm just going to, with this, if you need to tape this part off, these parts you can, but with a steady hand, I'm just going to butt my brush right there and just lightly go down. I'm gonna butt my brush right up against there and lightly go down. You also you can go over the tape and just go like this. That way you're getting just those edges. Same with over here. Go like this, just those edges. And if you need to reload your brush, you can. Like I said, butt it up against the edge and just go down. You don't need a lot. These are going to be transparent, so you're going to be able to see them, but they're not going to be, and there's this too, so if you need to tape that off, you can. I generally don't. What's really nice about these brushes is that they keep their shape, and so it allows you to get a really nice clean line. So I'm going to actually pull this off while it's still wet, and I'm going to gently just pull it off. And you can reuse your tape if you want, if you've got more. Now you generally want to wait 12 to 24 hours after your paint has dried to put the tape on so it doesn't pull up. Every so often you might have tape pull up some paint. Like this little spot right here, you can just take an artist brush and just spot fix it. But you want to gently pull that tape up. And you can see on the camera right here, you can see how it's translucent. So I'm gonna let this sit for a minute and let it dry, and then once I lift it up, we'll look at it again. Okay, so now it's dry and you can see the difference. I'm going to probably distress this a little bit. I like to distress things that are for kids just because you never know, because they're kids. The next thing I want to do is put something in this little panel. It's just too open and I want to make sure that it's got something cute on it. So my daughter picked out, I have this rice paper from Stamperia, and I'm going to attempt to get this rice paper in there and have it be the unicorn, or as much of the unicorn as we possibly can. So what I'm gonna do is I will probably cut it and try to cut to fix it and then use an X-Acto knife. Okay, so now that I have it the way I want it, I am going to apply, so I'm going to take this off. Rice paper is really, you can use your fingernails, like if you saw I was using my fingernails to guide it because it will indent in there, and you can actually bend it and rip it if you want, but I like to use scissors. So I have some Dixie Belle Clear Coat in satin, and that's what I like to decoupage with. So I've got myself a foam brush. I'm going to take this off of here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the surface, okay? I'm going to put this down, and then I'm going to try to smooth it, and then I'm going to actually put some satin on top of it. So we're going to add some satin onto the piece, and I'm just going to get it all up in these little crevices here. You could use a smaller brush. I mean, you really could use whatever brush you want. I just really like to use these for the smoothing part. Rice paper is very durable, so it's not like your tissue paper where you have to worry about it ripping when you're smoothing it out. I know some people, they like to iron theirs first. There's a bunch of different ways to decoupage. I feel like if you don't decoupage the way somebody else does, they get crazy. I'm not like that. You do what works for you. Okay, so I've laid it back down. What I'm going to do is I am going to carefully, rice paper is actually really tough, so don't worry so much about ripping it, and I'm going to line it up with these edges. I'm going to start at the top. Line it up with the edges at the top, okay? And if there's any part that goes over, you can always take your X-Acto knife and trim it. So I'm just using my fingers right now. Okay. So now that I have it at the top, what I'm going to do is kind of work it this way. And again, this is the layer that is kind of like a glue that's going to keep your rice paper down. I'm going to smooth it with my hand first. Okay. And now that I've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of work around the edges first, work around this part, and push it down. You're going to get all the air bubbles out of it. And again, rice paper is forgiving, so if you need to pull that down, push it that way. It will work really well. I know there's a bunch of different ways to decoupage. I think there's probably ways that are easier for some people and not as easy for others. I think whatever you are comfortable with is what you should do. Try different ways and see what works for you. I like rice paper or a high quality decoupage paper that I can pick up and move, because we don't always measure properly or whatnot. So, okay. So now this is nice and smooth. Okay, and so now I'm gonna lift it up so that you can see it. Okay, so now that I have this lifted up and you can see it, there is a few over on the edges right here that I can trim off later once it dries with my X-Acto knife. I could do it now, but I like to wait till it dries just so that I'm not messing with it too much. I'm gonna push this down with my fingernail. Again, there's a million different ways to do this. So I'm just pushing it with my finger to make sure that it's all, the edges are all nice. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to get my satin and I'm gonna go over it again. And this is gonna act as a sealer for your rice paper, for your decoupage. And you could, it depends on what you're doing it on. If you're doing it on a tabletop or something like that, you're probably gonna want to do a few coats to keep it really nice and protected. I'll probably do 2 coats of this. So I'll do this one, I'll smooth it out, I'll wait for it to dry, and then I will do another coat on it. But it's really easy. Like I said, I like to use rice paper because it is really user-friendly. For someone who doesn't do decoupage a lot, I don't do decoupage very often. It's really easy and user-friendly for me. So like I said, I like rice paper or a nice thick, high quality decoupage paper. So there is the decoupage, and we're gonna allow that to dry. I'll put another coat on it, and then we're gonna move on to our next stuff. All right, so this is dried. It's got 2 coats on there. And the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna add some wood you bend molding. So I'm gonna add this little flower right here, and I think I'm gonna overlap these 2 little flowers right here, just to add even more of this little whimsy. So wood you bend moldings, they're made out of wood. You can stain them, you can paint them, do whatever you want with them. But the first thing that you need to do is you need to heat them up to make sure that they are flat on your surface. So that's what I'm gonna do first, is heat them up. You can use a hair dryer or you can use a heat gun. Once they're heated, you'll see that they are flexible. So I can put it up against this and I can kind of gauge, all right, that's where I want it. And so I'm actually going to use tight bond wood glue, and I'm gonna make sure that that wood glue is all over that piece, all the way out to the edges. Okay, so if you have to use your finger and push it out to the edges, that's what you're gonna wanna do. And then you're going to place it where you want it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna heat it up one more time to make sure that it is actually flush to that piece. these ones are a little bit easier when you're doing, and I'm gonna push it up and just hold it for a couple minutes or a couple seconds, maybe a minute. When you're doing trim, it's a little bit harder. I like to glue my trim in place, but as you can see, there's a lot of glue that's coming out from the top, so you can just take a rag and wipe it off. It also will dry clear. Oops. And just wipe that glue that's coming off right there. Probably should get a better rag, but. And there you go. So this is gonna be on there. And now what I'm gonna do next is I'm actually going to layer these two little ones in the corners. I'm gonna use the same process. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video and I hope you learned something. And as always, everything I use is in the description below. I hope that you guys hit that subscribe button and subscribe so that you get all the latest videos. This was a really fun makeover for me because I had creative freedom with my daughter and being able to do the unicorns and things like that. So thank you guys so much. Happy creating, and I will see you later.
Lonesome dripping, 'cause we're spending the night, and it feels alright, but it's over now. Time keeps slipping, with your skin next to mine, and your lips I can fight, but it's over now. You brought out the best in me, we had everything we needed. You put me aside and turn out the lights.